The blue and red flashing lights sliced across my cabin windows, lighting up the trees like Judgment Day had finally come for Miller County. My heart pounded, steady and stubborn, as I watched 3 sheriff's deputies step out of their cars, hands hovering near their belts, boots crunching on gravel. And right behind them, there she was, arms crossed like she was posing for a villain's yearbook photo. Karen, the HOA president, smirking like she'd just won the neighborhood lottery. "That's the man right there," she hollered, finger pointed like a loaded gun. "He refuses to leave. This cabin belongs to the HOA. He's trespassing." The deputies flicked their flashlights at me. I didn't move. I just stood on my own porch, the same one I'd grown up walking across every summer for the last 20 years, arms folded, boots planted. Karen kept running her mouth. "Arrest him. He doesn't belong here." Like she was giving orders in a bad sitcom. The lead deputy walked up slow, face hidden under his hat. "Sir, we're going to need some identification. Are you the owner of this property?" The air was thick. You could have cut it with a butter knife. Karen leaned over, whispering to the little crowd that had shown up, "He's done for." Thought he could ignore the rules. Not in my neighborhood. All those eyes, neighbors, deputies, even kids hiding behind their parents' knees, burned into me. I pulled out a paper from my jacket. Not a driver's license. Not just a deed. Something bigger. The second that flashlight hit it, the deputy's eyes widened. Karen's smirk cracked, then faded. The whole crowd fell silent. "Sir, is this real?" the deputy muttered. I nodded. Karen looked ready to faint because in my hand was proof not only that I owned the cabin, but that I owned the land the whole county sat on. The night was about to get a lot more interesting. But let's back up a sec. Before the HOA circus, before Karen, before the police, life at the cabin was simple. My dad bought it, a wooden box tucked between pines, with a creek in the back so lively the fish almost jumped into your hand. Summers were for fishing, winters for cocoa and firewood. Town was a 20-minute drive. Nobody bothered us. Neighbors waved, sometimes brought pies, sometimes invited us to cookouts. Real small-town kindness. Until Karen showed up. She moved in with her husband. Poor Bill. Looked like he hadn't slept since Y2K. 2 weeks later, she'd taken over the HOA like she was running for president. Suddenly, there were rules. Lawn height, number of cars in the driveway, Christmas lights had a deadline. Mailboxes had to be regulation black. Most folks just grumbled and went along, easier than fighting. But my cabin sat on land my family owned before the HOA existed. I figured I was safe. Karen had other plans. She marched up my driveway, clipboard in hand. "You need to remove that shed," she barked. "Ma'am, this isn't part of your HOA," I told her, pointing to the Miller County line sign nailed to a tree. She squinted at it like I'd just quoted Shakespeare. "We'll see about that," she said, and stormed off. That was the start of the war. First, it was little things. Anonymous notes. Fake invoices. Neighbors popping by to remind me of the rules. Then came the threats. Karen waving fines in my face at the general store, yelling about court and unpaid dues. I kept my cool. Some people need to control others the way most folks need oxygen. But one Friday night, I came home from fishing to find 3 HOA folks taking pictures of my cabin like it was going on the market. I told them to leave. They claimed the HOA had voted to reclaim my property. I laughed. You can't reclaim what you never owned. They didn't like that one bit. Next morning, a note was shoved under my door. Vacate the premises in 24 hours or the HOA will call the authorities. I tossed it in the fireplace. Which brings us back to the deputies, Karen, and the crowd. Instead of talking, I handed over the paper that changed everything. The deputies huddled, whispered, eyes darting between me and Karen. "Sir," the lead deputy finally said, "do you realize what this means?" I nodded. Karen trembled now. "What? What does it mean?" He turned to her, and in front of the whole crowd, said, "This is not just a deed to his cabin. This is a certified record showing Mr. Miller owns the entire county land. All the developments, including this neighborhood, were leased from his family." The air left the clearing. Karen made a weird little laugh. "That can't be right. Nobody owns the whole county. It's notarized, ma'am. Signed by the county clerk. The neighborhoods are all on long-term leases. Let me back up again for a twist. My great-great-grandfather, Thomas Miller, settled this land in the 1800s. It was nothing but woods, creeks, and black bears back then. Thomas bought land for pennies, built a house, raised a family. Never sold an inch, just leased pieces for schools, stores, and neighborhoods. By the time I was born, Miller County was ours, but my dad always said, land's a responsibility. Share it. Take care of it. Don't use it to hurt people. Karen never saw land that way. She saw power. First time I met her, she looked at my cabin like it was an eyesore. We have rules to keep things tidy, she said. Tidy, in a forest. She tried everything. Letters, fines, men measuring my fence. Then, she claimed the HOA owned the strip of my driveway and put up private property, HOA-only signs. I tossed them out. Next day, there were 3 more. By the end of the week, she and Bill were out there with a measuring tape, arguing about angles. When I told her to leave and not come back, she promised, "You'll regret this." Fast forward, here we were. Karen trembling, sheriff holding the paper that proved her whole kingdom sat on my family's land. But I wasn't gloating. Because power, my dad said, is like fire. Useful when controlled, dangerous when let loose. Karen argued, he's lying. He's trying to scare us. The sheriff shook his head. If this checks out, legally, Mr. Miller has more rights than the HOA. The crowd started murmuring. Bill, for the first time, spoke up. Karen, maybe we should wait and see. Karen looked like she wanted to combust, but the sheriff handed my document back and told everyone to calm down until the county verified it. Karen wasn't done. She called an emergency HOA meeting. Flyers went up. By noon, half the county crammed into the stuffy clubhouse. I walked in late. The room went quiet. Karen glared. You have some nerve showing up. I just smiled. It's my land. Right then, the county surveyor, Ellen, walked in with a folder. The documents are valid. His family owns the original land rights. Even the ground beneath this clubhouse. Karen snapped. No, I don't accept that. Then, out of nowhere, she lunged for the fire alarm and set it off. Chaos. Chairs scraping, people yelling. Karen started shouting for board members only, waving her emergency powers. But the surveyor, steady as a stone, stood her ground. Mrs. Thompson, you're opening yourself to legal penalties. Outside, the air was too bright for this mess. Bill found me. She's calling a contractor, Wes Porter. Says they're bringing the big machines to your cabin. My stomach dropped. She told them to bring chains. By the time I made it up the ridge, there were orange vests, an excavator, and Karen in a hard hat barking orders. Chain the drive, tag the structure, remove the porch. I laid a hand on the chain. Chains don't make you strong. They just prove you're afraid. I told them. Karen glared. Rules keep people safe. If one person ignores them, everyone will. That's when neighborhoods fall apart. Just then, a county SUV kicked up dust on the lane, Sheriff Daniels. As the excavator's bucket started to bite into my porch, Daniels' voice thundered, "Stop that machine." Everything froze. Daniels tore into Karen. You have no jurisdiction here. Touch one more board, and you'll be fined, sued, maybe arrested. Karen lost it, yelling about RVs, mailboxes, chaos. The crowd started whispering, filming. Ellen Reyes showed up, waving the folder. The county confirmed it. Miller Trust owns the land. HOA has zero jurisdiction. Finally, Bill stood up to Karen. You already destroyed what mattered. Daniels made it official. Any further interference would be trespassing. Karen didn't answer, just glared, retreating but not surrendering. That night, word spread. Karen started calling in inspectors, EPA, fire marshals, zoning. Next day, state inspectors showed up in hard hats, clipboards in hand. The whole neighborhood followed, treating it like a festival. The inspectors found nothing wrong. When they left, Bill finally confronted Karen in public. This is about control, not safety. Days later, Karen called a press conference. Cameras, reporters, speeches about land hoarders. But Ellen had shown me a document. The lease let me revoke the HOA with 30 days' notice if they violated it. At the next HOA meeting, I served notice. In 30 days, the lease would end. Karen went wild. Tried to call in demolition crews. Threatened to bulldoze the clubhouse and park before the lease expired. When she tried to climb into a bulldozer herself, I stopped her. You're burning down everything you built. For what? Pride. Slowly, she climbed down, defeated, dropping her clipboard in the dirt. Daniels nodded. She'll get help. This stopped being about the HOA a long time ago. The next month felt like a new beginning. The HOA lease ended quietly. No more fines, no more rules on doors. Neighbors formed a council, no president, no power games. Kids built an ice cream stand from the old HOA shed. Evenings filled with barbecues, laughter, and music. One day, county officials brought news, a proposed partnership to turn the ridge into a protected nature preserve. The neighborhood cheered. Karen came back once, quieter, softer. She apologized. Start there, I told her. One day at a time. Fall arrived with a festival at the lake, lanterns strung along the trail. People danced, kids played, the sheriff ate ice cream. And when the stars came out, I sat on my father's rebuilt porch, thinking how storms tear things down, but sometimes something better grows. Now the land is safe, the neighbors are free, and the rules are simple. Be kind, pitch in, take care of each other. The story's done, but the questions are just starting. Where do you stand? Was I right to fight? Was Karen just trying to protect her vision of home? Or did she go too far? Tell me, what would you have done? Let's talk about it. Share your story. Because community doesn't end when the credits roll. It begins with the next neighbor who knocks on your door.